let's get into rebranding graphics. Let's start talking about rebranding the graphics that you get with your PLR. And if I were to ask you a question, and I'd like for you to just participate with me a little bit. If I were to ask you, who are the primary readers, right? If you had to guess, and let's try to break this down between male and female. If you had to answer the question of which way does written content skew, would you think that it would skew toward female readers or male readers, right? Which would you think? Yeah, and it primarily skews female. Written content primarily skews female, right? But what about video content, right? If I were to ask you, does video content skew male or female, right? Which would you think if I were to ask you that question? Okay, so yeah, everybody says male for the most part, right? And there's an article there that you can check out. It's from a site, and you can check them out on a number of sites, but I found an article that you can read that I listed here about YouTube statistics, and this is this is in general. Of course, it depends on the subject matter, but YouTube skews male, right, to about the tune of 63 to 38%, right? So video watchers tend to skew male. Right? Stuart says, yeah, unless it's something like fashion. I guess it depends on what kind of fashion, but yeah, everything depends on the subject matter. But in general, video viewing tends to skew male. What about audio content, right? What about audio content? If I were to ask you, does audio content skew male or female, right? Which would you say? What would you say? Does it skew male or female, right? And so I've got some mixed responses. Some say male, some say female. Yeah, and Dana's probably closest to the to the truth. It does skew male, but only slightly so. Whereas video tends to skew male, 62-38. Podcasting tends to skew male, 56-44, and even then, that tends to be it tends to be males with higher income, right? Just so you'll know. So if you're trying to reach people using podcasting, it's probably slightly male, but the cutoff here is probably going to be people's incomes tend to be higher when they listen to podcasts. So there's just some interesting things to start thinking about. Okay, so why do I say that? Why do I even bring that into the forefront? We're talking about rebranding graphics. If you haven't read, it's been a book that we have been discussing called Building Your Story Brand. If you haven't read it, I really highly suggest that you read it. The gentleman's name is Donald Miller, and his mantra throughout that book is to clarify your message so that customers will listen. Clarify it. So in other words, be specific, say one thing, and then make sure that it is abundantly clear. Don't leave any. And he uses the word, don't make your viewer or your listener burn mental calories trying to understand what your brand is. If you have something, if you can say it with tangible words, if you can say it with word pictures, try to say it that way. But regardless, what we're trying to do within branding, whether it's graphics or even with our words, we want to clarify our message. We want it to be abundantly clear as to what it is we offer. Now, why do we do that? We talked a little bit about that last time, because your message ought to reinforce your USP, right? Your USP is what? It is your unique selling proposition. Everyone who markets information, right? We're basically selling a PDF. We're basically selling digital video. We're basically selling digital audio. But is that what we're selling, right? No, it's more than that. Is it the fact that we're selling a course that people can get anywhere? Well, no, it's got to be more than that too, because I can get that from any place. I can go and get a free tutorials on YouTube. Is it the fact that I'm getting cutting edge information? Well, I can get that cutting information sometimes for free. The question is going to be whether or not I come back to you a second time. And if I'm going to come back to you, it's probably going to be because you offer me something that I want that I cannot get anyplace else. And that is what your USP is. What is your unique selling proposition, right? What is it that makes you, what is it that I have to come to you to get that I can't get from any place else. And you have to, in your branding, right? Here's what branding is. It is making sure that I know that if I don't know anything else, right? If I don't remember anything else about you, about your products, about your service, that you have reinforced the fact that I can only get this thing or this set of things or this way of doing things from you. So again, so your message ought to reinforce your USP. Your graphics don't have to be fancy, right? And even within the make money online niche, even within our business opportunity niche, your graphics don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be gaudy. They need to be professional. They don't need to distract from anything, but they do need to reinforce the message. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you a couple of things here where it's going to be clear to you that it's really going to be about what you reinforce. Now, again, anybody can sell something one time, right? And you might have experienced that. Maybe you might get an affiliate sale. Maybe you might sell a digital product. Anybody can do that one time, but can you do it over and over again? Can you do it week after week? Can you do it month after month? And if you're going to be able to do it week after week, month after month, and you don't want to try to be, let's say, a guru or a cult of personality, then it's really going to be about your brand. It's really going to be about you reinforcing something in everything you do, including the graphics, that says something about you that I can't get anyplace else. Let's talk about the landing page and your graphics. I'm going to take a look at this here in a minute, but let's kind of dive in to what we mean by reinforcing the graphics in terms of your landing page. Whatever's on that landing page, whether it's your WordPress site, whether it is a landing page that you bought and you put together with a squeeze page, it needs to reinforce your brand and your USP. And you can do that, right? That's not going to be too hard to do. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Again, what we have to do is we have to be clear. We don't have to be fancy, right? Clear. It should be clear. And I'll show you here. On our landing page, there should be a call to action. You need to make sure that I walk away knowing what it is I need to do if I come to that page. There should not be anything else to do. Even if you reinforce the brand, even if you reinforce your USP, there should not be anything else to do. But you do have to reinforce your brand. And again, now, you should make an offer to me, right, on that page, an offer to me, right? So again, yes, I should opt into your list to get something. That should be your offer. But again, all of these things really still do have to happen on your landing page. Now, most of the time, if I come to your landing page, it's because I don't know you, right? Because if I know you already, I probably have not had to go through your landing page. I probably don't have to opt in again. But if I'm meeting you online for the first time, and you may not ever see me again, you need to, number one, reinforce your brand. You need to give me a call to action and make me do something. And you need to give me a reason to do it, an offer, right? An offer. It has to be something that's cool. It has to be something that you targeted me and you brought me here. Now you've got to make me opt in. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you are explicit. I'm going to show you a good example of that here in a minute. And then ultimately, you got to get my email address. As of right now, and I think I said this the other day, Twitter, Facebook, they're effective, but they are still miles away from being as effective as you getting an email address. You still have to get it, right? We're not at the point yet. We may get there, right? And I understand that there's messenger marketing and all those things are the wave of the future. I get that. But you still need to get the email address. We're not at that point yet where you can say, I don't need an email address. I'm just going to Facebook it. Now, there are those folks who are doing it totally by social media and star power. I think it's great. I would almost be willing to bet those people that if they added on email, they'd almost double their income. Even if they're wildly successful using only social media, if they turn to email, they'd probably double their income. Right? That's just a guess. So landing page. What are we talking about? USP, call to action, current offer, and opt-in. right? So Stuart asks, is an order and an address? If I come to your landing page, right? Typically, if I come to your landing page and I'm meeting you for the first time, and if I buy something from you, right? Now, if I buy something from you, you should be collecting the name and email address, right? So that should happen by default. No, you don't need to ask me for a name and email address. If you're going to show me an offer to buy, right? If I don't know you and you're going to show me an offer to buy, then when I make the transaction, you should be collecting name and email address. Now, again, that's not part of the graphics, but that is part of the process. All right, good question. Okay, so let's take a look for a second at Amazon. I want to show you Amazon. I want to show you what I'm talking about. And let's take a look here. So let's just go to Amazon. Okay, so what do you see at the top left? That's the brand, right? Do you see a call to action up there? Okay, Amazon's a gazillion-dollar company. What are they doing? What are they telling you? Try Prime, right? Try Prime, call to action, right? So here's their front landing page, and what do they have here? They've got the brand to the top left, right? That is to reinforce the brand. So they want you to know, hey, we're Amazon. Number two, what do we want you to do? Try Prime. Right? So again, that's their number one thing. Try Prime. And if Amazon does this, right, then you and I need to do it too. Right? So again, look to the right side, right? So if we look over to the right side, what are they saying? What's over there? What do you see to the right side? Sign in, orders, and what else? Try Prime. Right? So what do you think Amazon wants you to do? As big as they are, they want you to get on Prime, and they're not making any bones about it. And you and I, again, it reinforces what they want from you. Does that make sense? And this is, so again, are these fancy graphics? So is this do you see anything really fancy about the graphics there? No, they're not trying to fool anybody. Okay, they're clarifying. So does that make sense, everybody? So clarify is important. So it's not about necessarily what you're trying to do to be fancy. It's what do you want to reinforce, right? What do you want people to remember over and over and over again? What do you want people to remember about the experience with you? Try Prime. All right, let's take a look at here again. Let's go to eBay, right? So top left, right? So no call to action except right here. Right? Front and center. Right? Now, what do they want you to do? Right? They want you to get in and start bidding on things. Right? They want you to call. They want you to get right in here. They want you to sell. Right? Conquer your college shopping. That's a current offer. So again, nothing here is fancy, folks. Nothing here is fancy. All it is clarification. Right? So you and I need to be clear, not necessarily fancy with our graphics. So yeah. This is professionally done. It's laid out very well. I'm pretty sure they had a lot of professionals put a lot of time, a lot of effort into here. You can buy WordPress themes, and again, that are very clean and very clear. What you and I have to do with it once we get them here is we have to be clear. Does that make sense? So the graphics, right? The graphics have to clarify, they have to reinforce what we're trying to say. That's what rebranding is. So I don't want you to get too deep into the weeds on, let's just say, on getting into Photoshop or whether or not you use GIMP and all those things. All those things are great, right? But that's not going to bring people back to us. What's going to bring people back to us is that they know that they can get this thing from us over and over again because we clarified our message and we reinforced it. Let's look at two more. I want you to look at two more. Let's look at Overstock. Right now, they're a little more obscure, but what do they want you to do? Right, Overstock, top left. So that's again, this is a clue, guys. This is a clue. And here's a coupon. Again, call to action. Sign up, right away. Earn rewards with Overstock. Right, they want you to become part of their rewards program. Again, everything up front. What are they trying to reinforce? Free shipping, easy returns. Right. So again. It's not fancy, It's being clear. It's being clear. It's not about being fancy. It's about being clear with the graphics. And I really want you to get that, because even as you start to take your graphics and you start to change them, right? It's not important that you say something, let's say, over the top, right? What's important is that you clarify. Okay, now here's something that's really good, and I think you'll get it right away. So let's go to AppSumo, which I'm pretty sure you've heard of before. AppSumo is a great example. Okay, so AppSumo is gonna bring you here. Right now, what's gonna happen? This is a great example, in my opinion. Right, so what do you see here? Everything is happening right here. Friends don't let friends pay full price. So basically, what is AppSumo saying? If you want to get applications for your business, right, you're not going to pay full price for them. That's what they do. That's their USP. Right now, join our email list right here. Right? Send me deals. Now, there's some science going on with the button and all this other stuff, but this is really not fancy. This is clear. Does that make sense, everybody? Use this as an example, because it's not about tricking anybody. You've got a USP. You've got something that you do. You've got something that you offer. Say that. Be clear. Now, take some time to figure out what your USP is. Right? Now, again, the most important thing is that you get a USP that is attention grabbing and that makes me want to do business with you. But once you've done that, right? Once you've done that, the work with your USP, this is what you can do with your graphics, right? When you bring people to the page, you just reinforce your USP. Okay, so the opt-in page we just looked at, brand and USP and call to action, right? That's what you got to do, right? So again, it doesn't matter what you get with your PLR, right? So if you get something with a PLR, what you've got to make sure it does, and what you don't want to do is you don't want to be in the habit of, they gave me these words, so I'm going to go and I'm just going to change all the words over to my words. That's fine, but you can't be surprised if that doesn't work, right? So let's take a look here. So the question isn't whether or not, I don't need to just take this and put my words in them. What do I need to do with this, right? What do I need to do with this based on what we've just talked about? What do I have to do this? What do I have to make sure goes here? I need to make sure my USP is in here, right? I need to make sure my call to action is in here. It doesn't matter what the graphics say. It doesn't matter what they gave me. What matters is what I put there. And what I put there has to be what? It has to be my USP. It also has to be my offer. So it's not just a matter of of changing the words to my own. What I have to do is I have to say the things that are going to make people want to do business with me. Does that make sense? Right? So that is what we have to do. So yes, we got the graphics here, but what I have to put in here is I've got to make sure my USP goes in here, and I also have to make sure that my call to action goes in here that makes sense for my business. Right? Okay, now, okay, for the sales page, okay, header, brand USP. I'm going to show you this here in a minute. And then call to action. Let's take a look at this right now. So I'm going to go and let's open up. Okay, so here are the PSD files for a PLR product. So let's first look at the header, right? And I'm not gonna resolve that right now. Okay, so what can I do with this, right? What could I do with this header? What maybe one thing that I could do, right? And if I'm not graphically inclined, I can get somebody to do this. But I'm going to try to, number one, I want to, in this corner, right, I want to do something here to reinforce my brand, right? Let's say that I change the title to this. Do you think it matters if I change the title to another product? Well, it matters a little bit. What really matters is what I say to people about me, what I say to people about what they're going to be getting. What do I saying to people who know me already? I need to reinforce my own brand on this on this header. And so basically what that's going to mean is I might do it here in this area, using the powerful features of GetResponse to build your business, right? Maybe I'm going to change this. And I'm going to, let's take this out. And I'm going to write in some text here. On screen, video, tutorials. Maybe I might say that. And maybe let's say I might say in, let's say I want to say in 30 minutes or less, right? Maybe I can say that, right? Now I want to say this, right? Now, and I want to say something like that, and I want to say something like that in everything I'm going to be selling. Why? Because what do I want people to remember? Because I don't want people to just stop at buying, let's say, this GetResponse. I want them to buy, let's say, Aweber also. And if I'm going to be in the, let's say that I'm taking this PLR and I'm changing it to something that I want to sell. Well, I don't want them to stop at GetResponse. I want them to stop at nothing. I want them to buy everything. And so what I want to do is, instead of reinforcing just the product, I want to reinforce my brand also. Does that make sense? Okay, so Amanda has a question, right? And Amanda's question is, should you change your brand colors? Should I change this to my brand colors? I think you should, right? I think you absolutely should. So for example, I could then take this layer, and let's say I wanted to change this, and I wanted to change this color to something else. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to change this color some, right? So yeah, so in other words, yes, I definitely want to change my brand, right? I definitely want to change my color. So maybe I might change this to, let's say my brand color was something like green or something. And then I come here and then I paint, right? So yeah, so I would want to make sure I changed this to my brand, to my colors. Probably one of the best examples of this, right, that I've seen inside of our space, and I'm gonna tell you about this here in a minute, that if you're going to change something over, right, you really do have to know who your customer is, right? Understand who your customer is. And if you're going to have a brand, or you're going to have a theme, make sure you understand kind of who's going to be buying. For example, and let's go here. Probably one of the best examples that I've seen of that are the ladies at Coach Glue. But I want you to take a look at their stuff. Okay, who is Coach Glue selling to? Right, who do you think they're selling to? Look at their graphics. Who are they selling to? Right, they're selling to women who aspire to be successful. Right, they're selling to women who aspire to be independent. Right, and so they're selling to women business owners, coaches, female coaches. Right, and so could I buy this, and could I sell to men? I probably could. Would it be effective? Not as effective as it could be, right? If I were to look at my YouTube channel probably falls along the same lines as the ones that you saw in the graphics, right? So in other words, my YouTube audience is probably about 60% male. And so if I were to go in now, to do this, it would require substantial changing. So, I mean, I would probably not be their primary customer, but they probably have enough customers that they've changed the graphics to reflect who they're going to sell to and to reinforce their brand. Look at the logo, right? Take a look at the logo. What does the logo say to you? Let's take a look at the logo in a new tab. If I can take a look at the logo. Okay, who do you think the logo is for? Right? Look at the colors. Right? Who's the logo for? Again, it reinforces who they're selling to. And so this is what you're trying to do with your brand. Yeah, women. They're trying to sell to women. And it doesn't mean that a man can't buy their content, but they understand who they're selling to. And so you and I have to do the same thing. We've got to do the same thing in our graphics. We have to do the same thing inside of our products. And we have to do the same thing inside of our site. The issue isn't that it has to be fancy, right? It has to be over the top. It has to be clear, right? It has to be clear, right? So again, yeah, and Amanda says it's stereotypically pink for women. Most of us, and I guess this is psychological in nature, but when our brains get something that we don't understand, it stops us. It keeps us from making a decision, right? When it sees things that it expects, right, it allows us to keep going forward. And that's really all they're trying to do. Typical, yes, but it allows us to keep going to make a decision to buy. And that's all we're really trying to do with our graphics, is we're trying to make sure that we use them in a way that is going to be helpful to us in a way that we're going to buy. Okay, so in one of your previous videos, you recommended you cover authority. Do I recommend using, okay, eCover Authority or Photoshop Actions for ebook covers? Okay, that's a great question, actually, and it's actually a good place to have this discussion. Okay, do I recommend Photoshop and or do I recommend eCover Authority? Okay, Photoshop has a learning curve, and so if once you learn Photoshop, you're not going to have to learn another graphics program ever, right? And so that's the benefit. I've heard, and what I will say about Photoshop is it is no longer something that you have to be intimidated by in terms of price. It's no longer it's something that you have to be intimidated in terms of working with. For example, let me show you something here. I'm going to close this up, and I'm just going to open up an old graphic. Okay, so first of all, what Photoshop now does is it gives you guidance, right? So even if you're trying to, let's say you're trying to change something and it doesn't look like you're going to line something up, Photoshop will provide you guides that will help you to kind of line things up. And so basically what they've done is they've made it so that the bar is lower. So now I would not consider myself to be a Photoshop guru by any stretch of the imagination, but I can use Photoshop competently, and I've probably only had one entire course that I've learned how to do that I learned how to use years ago, because Photoshop has gotten so incredibly easy to learn how to use. So if you want to get a program to avoid Photoshop, I don't think that's necessary anymore, right? I don't think that's necessary. Now, having said that, in order to get eCover Actions for Photoshop, you're probably going to have to buy Cover Action Pro. Cover Action Pro is $297, right? It is. And so because of that, it's a spicy price, but again, something you're going to never have to buy again, right, once you buy it. So you're not going to have to rebuy Cover Actions for years. If you buy a program, maybe either the Usign or eCover Action Pro, to avoid paying the price, that's understandable, but again, understand you're not going to have to buy Cover Actions ever again. Let's talk about eCover Authority. The person that does eCover Authority has stood behind that program for a long time. He's active in our community, and he works to improve it. And so it's not going to be like other software experiences, because he is active and he actually works inside of our market. I would consider it to be a good way of getting into graphics, right? There is a point though at which you're gonna run into a case where the further you go in internet marketing, there are going to be some things that you will run into that will be beyond the scope of eCover Authority, and knowing Photoshop will be a benefit. So what am I saying? I would say then that if you start with eCover Authority to create eCovers, and then you get to this point where you have to do other stuff, I think then that you start investigating how you're going to buy Photoshop and Cover Action Pro. Let's see, Amanda, can Canva work to make these edits? You know, it's for some of them, Amanda. Canva does not, to my knowledge. Now it may. I don't know that it works for layers. Right? I don't know how well it works for layers. So I think that if Canva does layers, then it can, and if it works with PSD files, it can. But I don't know that Canva works with PSD files. Stuart says outsource. And I think that to some degree that's true. I do work with designers. I work with 2 of them. What I will say is that in our business, right, we have to move very quickly. For example, if I need to put together an affiliate promotion, I can't call the designer the 2 or 3 days ahead of time and ask them to put together all my graphics for an affiliate promotion. So I have to be able to operate PowerPoint. I have to be able to operate Photoshop. I have to be able to create my PSDs. I have to be able to do a lot of these things because, first of all, it's going to be cost prohibitive for me to get a designer to do everything unless they work for me full time. Right? That's a tall order. And so, yeah, I do have people that I contract with, that I do outsource, but there are a lot of things that I just have to do. And having to know those things means that I need to know how to use a graphics program and do some things myself. Right? So outsourcing is the best thing. And here's what I say about outsourcing. Here's what I say about outsourcing in graphics. Number one, I outsource all designs. So I do not try to design. So if you're talking about trying to make a design and trying to make it look good and trying to lay out the stuff, I don't do any of that. So yes, in that case, I outsource everything. But if you're talking about turning a design into something that I can market with, I do that. I will do that work myself. And you and I will probably have to do that unless you have a designer working for you, solely for you full time. Right? So the only thing that I outsource, are designs, right? But the manipulation of those designs, right, I either work with somebody who is working with me or I do it myself.